Hi, my name's Kara-Leah from the Yoga Lunchbox, and today I am here with Nianna Bray, who is an international yoga teacher. She travels the world spreading her goodness. She also runs a retreat company and has a not-for-profit. Nianna, you're coming back to New Zealand next year, aren't you?
Yes, I'm coming in January.
Awesome. So I wanted to talk to you about a few things. We'll talk about why you're coming to New Zealand, back to New Zealand. But first, I noticed when I was reading about you that something that comes up really strongly and also in your presence is that you teach from this place of embodying the divine feminine through Shakti. Is that a fair description of where you're coming from?
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So for those who might not know, because even though there's a lot of people doing a lot of yoga, not everyone has even heard of Shakti. So what is, or who is, or what is this energy of Shakti?
Well, to put it in context, when we talk about yoga, we talk about merging the masculine and feminine. We talk about Kundalini rising. What is Kundalini? Oh, did I lose you? I lost my camera. So what is Kundalini? We talk about Kundalini as a divine feminine power. So everything in life has elements of Shiva and Shakti. Or I guess we could say that life itself is Shiva and Shakti. So Shakti is the divine feminine power, meaning that which is manifest. It is the earth, it is the sky, it is the stars, it is the trees, it is you, it is I, it is man, it is woman, it is everything alive and manifest. And then you have Shiva, which is the consciousness and bliss. It is without any attributes. So it is without smell, without sound, without taste, without, we can't see it, we can't feel it, we can't know it really, even with our mind. So this aspect is Shiva. So it's kind of beyond us, really, so that it's hard to really wrap our heads around it with our human, or even our hearts or our minds or our bodies around it with our human experience. But yet we can all relate to Shakti. And so Shakti is that feminine aspect that is the nurturing, that mother, like Mother Earth, and all things that are born and all things that manifest. So everything that comes through the womb, through the feminine creation is Shakti. And so for women particularly, because we embody that, we have that physical body that can create life and give birth and can tap into that really naturally, that and very quickly. For women, it's so important that we really truly understand that we are the goddess incarnate. And it's not just something outside of ourselves, or the goddess is something out there or from a different time or a deity away from us. It's really understanding that we are the goddess, we are Shakti, we are the divine feminine. And so when women tap into that, they're coming from a place of not just feeling like that we're looking for something outside of us to be filled, but instead that we come from a place of wholeness and integration within ourselves, and that power can move us in our lives.
So when you were on your yoga path, because you've been practicing for more than half your lifetime, right? When did you first come across and begin to understand the concept of Shakti?
Yeah, no, it's a good question because, practicing yoga for years, we don't actually hear terms like this for a while. We don't really start to dig into some of the philosophy behind the asana, behind the poses. We hear of Ganesha, the elephant-headed god, but we don't actually, and for me, I think, and maybe a lot of people can resonate with this, the yoga practice became a very aesthetic kind of thing, meaning we're like Swami or Sadhu or masculine kind of aesthetic where I felt like I needed to push the world away. I needed to turn away from the world in order to find Shiva or consciousness or that divine bliss that I was searching for as a seeker. And when the concept of feminine goddess, of Kali worship or Durga worship or Shakti worship, Shaktism, when that came into my life, it really switched everything around. And I started to have a healthier relationship with food and sex and my body and Mother Earth and my own purpose and my own pleasure and my own reason for being here, because it turned me into looking more toward God in each other, seeing God in the human circumstance, seeing God, or shall I say the goddess, seeing that goddess, that feminine power, that divine feminine power in life itself. And to actually go, they say in the tantric kind of adage is like to only through Shakti can we know Shiva. right? To get to that place of that still point inside that we're all looking through for the Kara-Leah or the liberation, looking for that place of peace within ourselves, that blissful state. Through our Shakti, through the feminine, can we know it? Through life, can we actually experience and taste that liberation? And so when I found that, probably 10 years ago, it really started to change my relationship with my practice and my life and really everything. I can go on, but we can stop there.
I like that point you make, that sometimes when we are practicing yoga, we're coming from that place of wanting to transcend our body, transcend our desires, transcend life. So going towards the Shiva aspect, consciousness. But like you say, you have to actually go down into the Shakti first and embody life in order to reach consciousness. That's a beautiful way to look at it. When you say that, I get it. It's like, oh my God, that's so it. Do you find though, I mean, when I look around the yoga world, I've been to a lot of yoga classes. Aside from Shiva's classes, obviously Shiva Rea, she talks about Shiva and Shakti, but a lot of teachers never even mention the masculine and the feminine and these particular energies at all.
I feel like we're in a time that's really shifting. We were talking about earlier, is just how the yoga we've been doing, and a lot of women are into yoga these days, mostly women in yoga studios and conferences and retreats and festivals around the world. It's mostly women practitioners. And I feel like women, we've been practicing a masculine way. We've been living in kind of a masculine world. And we're starting to see that we've been doing our yoga practice and also our spiritual seeking from a masculine perspective. And it's not that that's right or wrong, man or woman. It's not in kind of good or bad dichotomy. Really, the understanding from a divine feminine perspective is actually one that's all inclusive. So it's not the this or that thinking. It's this and that. So from a Shakti approach, if we're practicing in a way that is very hierarchical and that we're reaching towards some goal, we're going from A to B in a linear way, it doesn't necessarily work for the feminine body. Or sitting quietly, sitting quietly and not moving and being absolutely still, that's very masculine in nature. So the feminine, we love to move. We love to spiral. We love to go from here to there. We're not linear. We're like, it's a circular movement, which is the divine feminine have nature, its aspects. So it's not necessarily man or woman. We all have these two polarities within us. And I think that for women, we've been very masculine for a little while. And now it's like, what is it to call in that feminine to also live in a world that respects feminine qualities, feminine attributes, feminine power that's actually quite vulnerable and not so linear. And a little bit more, that circular aspect.
I think you're touching on something that is really important and really crucial, because when yoga did come over to the West, it was primarily brought over by male teachers in a more of a masculine way. But as you say, the divine feminine is rising, and you see it all over the net, in particular, like the references to goddess this and goddess that, etc. So I wonder if you're right that our yoga world is going to be shifting a lot in the next 5 years, coming from that place of you can feel that circle energy. I just want to do this.
Yeah, you just can feel it. Yeah.
I'm just like, let's circle. So then, from a teaching perspective, because you have been teaching for a long time, and you assisted Shiva Rea for a long time in her teacher trainings, and last year you did your first teacher training here in New Zealand in Queenstown. With Sandy down at Nadi, and you're coming back to do another one, right? Another 200-hour training. So let's talk about that. How do you bring the Shakti into the teacher training?
Well, as soon as I step into the room, Shakti is there. I don't know what to say. It's like, it's just me and my body, and giving, I think, as a woman, just to liberate the postures just enough. Maintaining the structure, the dynamic groundedness and the balance, I think that's what it's really about. And allowing that feminine quality, that kind of me meandering expression of the posture, that really starts to change everything. And then also the lens, the kind of how we're looking at these practices. For me, it really is about timeless wisdom that we can pull from these teachings of yoga. Some of the traditional things you're going to learn in my teacher training that, every teacher training I think should have. Some of those like real basics of the history and the philosophy and the Yoga Sutras and looking at the Vedas, a little bit of the Vedas and things like this, but then also having that kind of that feminine lens and to be able to look and interpret some of what I'm gathering from that feminine mind, feminine body. So, and also too, of course, the movements, the way I approach the sequencing, it's very intuitive and creative sequencing. So it's stepping away from things like Ashtanga, or that was very so much set sequences, and this is like a hierarchy, and this is like how you have to do it, and every morning you have to wake up and so really becoming, and I got a lot of this from Shiva Rea, and just how we're changing always with the moon, the circles, again, the moon, the circles of the season, the circles of our cycle, the circles of life. Life is circularly moving, and so to be in a practice that welcomes change and that we're not the same person all the time. And yet within us is that consistent still point, the bindu, which is that divine masculine within us, so it's not that we deny that, but that we allow that solidity, that masculine to stabilize us, and then the feminine to dance around that in great joy and ecstasy. And that union is what creates, I think, a really beautiful, we're all looking for as yoga practitioners, as yogis or yoginis. We're looking for kind of and freedom and liberation so that your mind can settle. And I feel that the practice that I share and what I've been teaching is essentially, delivering people into that space. And I think that that's the seductive quality that Shakti has to seduce the mind. The old pattern, the old dynamic was to like whip, hatha, to beat with force, right? The hatha is to beat with force, but it's also the masculine, feminine, and that divine. And so you can beat, I love one of my teachers, she said, you can beat an old horse, but eventually, the horse will do the work. You can beat a old horse and they'll do the work, but eventually the horse will break down and it won't move anymore. And so the approach is for me not to beat with force, not to control the body, but to really seduce Shakti, this divine energy within us, to rise and dance with the divine energy above us. And then that dance is really how we seduce that up. Is I think it's an art form. And it comes with time and experience, and also having mentors, having teachers that embody that. That's how I am where I am. Because I had feminine, beautiful, powerful, amazing women in my life who guided me and who really lit a path for me to do this.
That's what I love about your teaching and about the teachings like from Shiva Rea, etc., is that it's energetic based. You're coming from that understanding that yoga is at its essence is the energy and the consciousness that one brings to energy, Shakti, consciousness, Shiva, right? And you're working from that place and then building on top of it, and the form arises because of what's happening energetically. So my friend Helen came to one of your classes at Wanderlust last year, and she was so impressed by your class that was it. She just signed up to go and do your training, which I think says a lot about the embodiment that you do bring. That you do bring to your classes. Now, when you're here, you're not just doing a 200-hour teacher training. You're also leading a 100-hour. Is it a training or is it an experience? Women's wisdom. Do you want to talk a little bit about that? It's a certification.
Yeah, sure. Love to. So it is a certification. So we have the 200-hour teacher training. So you get your basics, you get your history, you get your philosophy, you get your teaching hours, you get your sequencing, you get practicum, all of that. You leave feeling really confident as a practitioner, and then you get the experience. We had it set up where you actually get to experience what it is to be a teacher and build yourself up. And then we have follow-on projects and mentoring and things like that. So it's like, it's not just the month of the training, it's like a full comprehensive, which I think is really beautiful. And we keep an eye on you. And then, so I do that. And then afterwards, we have just a 1-day training, actually, which will be advanced adjustments. So taking difficult poses and teaching people how to, touch and teach with their hands. So we have that. And then after that, so I'm going to be staying very busy.
Yeah.
We have the women's 100-hour, but we're doing 50 hours of the 100 hours. So essentially it's a certification program where then you can go and teach your own women's workshops. I was teaching a lot of women's workshops, and it really just got to the place because women are hungry for this. This is something that is being called out, and it's not just me, it's other women who are doing this work, and women are really feeling called. So it was important for me to find a way, because there's really amazing women in the community in New Zealand, in Queenstown, who are great leaders and amazing Shakti, Dakini goddesses, and I want them to feel empowered to continue to teach this if I'm not around, right? So, I think to be a good teacher is to give all of your secrets away, to not hoard as if you have ownership of knowledge or you have ownership of some kind of magical wisdom, but that we all have to create change and to be vehicles of empowerment and change. So the idea is to, after you do this training in this course, you can, teach out, you can go out there and teach other women some of these practices that I think are very valuable and that we're not taught about. So deep internal practices, pelvic floor work, core work, getting deep into the hips, also purifying, not even purifying in a way as if you're not pure, but just refining, I guess is a good way to say it, refining our connection to our yonis, our sexual organs, our own voice. What is it to be a woman, to speak our truth? And then for me, most importantly, is we're having a safe, sacred space amongst women where women can be free to be sexy and sensual and gorgeous, maybe even funny, silly, ugly, like whatever, however women are showing up. And it could be any kind of place that they feel safe to express that fully and be fully accepted as they are. And when that happens, like things start to change, healing happens, things come up, and it gets resolved, in that space of healing. So it's exciting because we need, I think as women, we need a place to come together and to empower and heal. So a lot of that's happening with our own sensual sexual power, right? That's like the key or the secret that unlocks, some of that bondage.
Awesome. And that sounds amazing. I would love to come to that. Unfortunately, I'm going to Madonna on the Sunday night, so up in Auckland.
Well,
so I know it was a big call, because otherwise I would have been there, because it does sound incredible. And you're right, there is something so powerful about simply having women together in the room in a way that is held, and like you say, things just start to shift and things start to happen. I can't remember which yoga teacher it was. Was it Krishnamacharya? One of the male teachers who actually said, was it Satyananda, that women will lead the way in the world, that it's women's rising that is going to shift things the way that they need to shift.
Actually, I think that was, if I'm correct, it's a Dalai Lama quote, and he says it's the Western woman that will...
That's the one.
That will, yeah. It's like Western women that will change the world, because Western women, that's the thing. We see it around the world. And again, it's not, I don't want to ever feel like it's male bashing or that something against men, because this includes men as well, includes women. It's not about man, woman. It's about feminine energy. But what we're seeing in the world that is very clear is a lot of women in small countries or even big countries around the world are still very repressed. Even in America, even in New Zealand, there's, without going to like too much detail about how we're repressed, what I always say is like, it's like our sexuality, female sexuality, it's very clear. We live in a world right now, it's either highly exploited or it's completely denied.
Yeah.
Highly repressed. So it's like highly repressed and like put down and or like exploited to the point where it's also absurd. And so for me, it's like, what is it to be a woman? We're discovering for ourselves, and that's what this work is about. It's not about anyone telling you what it is to be feminine, anyone telling you what that looks like or that feels like. It's for us to discover for ourselves what that feels like, and then share with the world that healthy sense of sexuality and feminine sensuality that is so important in this world right now.
You
so
feel
I
it.
do feel like it is going to.
Yeah.
I feel it. Yeah.
It's a goddess power, like you say, when a woman owns herself, and you can feel it in your own self. It's just like, yeah, that's where it comes from. And it's the men around that love us and support us and are holding the ground as well. So like you say, it isn't about men versus women at all. It's about women being able to step into their full power, supported by men who are in their full power. So it gets
exactly.
Yeah.
It's exciting.
It does. It so does. Oh.
It gets juicy.
All right, Nianna, it is always such a pleasure to speak to you, and I really hope I get to see you when you're in New Zealand. Any last words that you'd like to say about anything that you're doing here?
Well, I just want to say that, please, if you're watching this and you're feeling connected to this feminine rising, please join us. We've got amazing workshop coming up. This training is happening. You can tell us the dates. What is it? It's in March. Maybe you have it written down in front of you. It's coming up
in February. I think February 8th is when it begins.
A few things before that.
Yeah.
But I would just say, if you feel that calling, find a women's circle, get with your girlfriends, find a way to connect into this feminine movement, because it's happening. And, the more powerful women rising, and together we rise. So, and for the men out there, you definitely want to encourage your woman to be empowered, because it will do numbers for your sex life. Just saying.
Beautiful. Thank you.